Welcome to the Financial Coaches Podcast, where we talk about how to build your practice from startup to scale up while being the kind of coach your clients crave. Finally, a podcast for financial coaches. Here are your hosts, Maria Casillas and Cody Sizemore.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Financial Coaches Podcast. I'm Maria Casillas, joined here by my incredible and a little bit distracted co-host, Cody Sizemore. We were going to talk today about something, and Cody was going to bring this in. And then he said, hey, could you do that for me? I got something going on. And I'm like, really, Cody? You know I love that. So anyway, I'm not quite sure what he has going on, but I'm going to just jump in and say, are you ready, Cody? I mean, is it time?
I'm ready.
All right. All
I'm
right. So what is so important, sir, that you have me jumping in and not even knowing what to talk about?
Yeah, well, right before we pressed record, I got a notification that I had a new consultation booked. So I wanted to reach out to that lead and, just talk to him and make sure everything's good and all that kind of stuff. So that's why. That's why.
Congratulations to you on a new lead. That's fantastic.
Thanks.
And of course, those of you who know us know that we're probably a little messing with you just a little bit here. We do have an idea of what we're talking about. Today, we're going to talk about what we do when we are chatting with the leads and what that kind of looks like. I would like Cody to actually share with us a little bit about what he's been noticing in some of his own behavior. And then we're going to take some of what he's learned and apply it a little bit more broadly to some of the stuff that we do in our businesses. So without further ado, Cody, talk to us about what you're noticing in the way that you're interacting with clients right now or potential clients.
Yeah. So whether you want to call them leads or prospects or potential clients, they're all the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're people who have shown interest, but you're not actually working with them yet, right? So for those who have listened to this show every week, the every weekers, they know that a big part of my strategy is just talking to people, like literally every single day. Like I'm probably sending on a daily basis, I'm probably sending out messages, whether it be text messages or Facebook messages or whatever. I'm probably talking to 40-ish people a day, maybe 50 a day. So that's a huge part of like what I do. It's a huge part of how I, get so many consultations booked and it's a huge part of, how I get clients. It's a massive, massive part of it. And I've been doing that for almost 6 years now, like every single day, except for Sundays. That's the only day I don't do it. So just do some math. I mean, I've literally talked to thousands of people and I've had thousands of conversations around money, and thousands of times I've had to try and like reach out to someone for the very first time. And then, it's kind of like a cold lead and, nurture them to get them warm enough so that they can then book a call with me. And after a while, I kind of noticed, even more recently, that I kind of just like found myself kind of getting into just kind of going through the motions with it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, becoming a little bit stale with, like, how fast I respond with people, even what I say, not taking that extra message or two to, kind of relate with them a little bit more. And I've been trying to just get to the point a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more quickly. And I've noticed that over probably the last couple of months that I've been kind of just kind of going through the motions with it, But as a result of that, I've also noticed that a lot of those conversations haven't really been going anywhere. Um, they have not been translating in, them turning into calls, which then also means that they have not been translating into them turning into clients. Uh, so that is why I wanted to bring up this conversation around, hey, we should really be aiming to treat every lead as if there are only leads, right?
Mm,
Now, there might be someone who's listening to this podcast right here, right now, and they're like, well, I don't have any leads. I don't understand how you could even feel that way, Cody. Like, if I had one lead, I'd be over the moon kind of thing, right?
mhm.
And then there might be someone who's listening and they say, hey, I only have one lead or two leads. Like, how is that the case? But then there's other people who are maybe in a similar boat to me, to where they're talking to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 people a day, and they've been doing it for a while. And it does wear on you because it's almost like Groundhog Day in certain
Mm.
ways. Like you start the conversation the same way, and then you kind of have similar conversations with different people. It's just a little bit different based off of their unique situation, but the general framework is the same, right? And you're
Yeah.
doing that every day for years with thousands of people. Um, and for those people, I know for a fact that they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. And in the interest of efficiency, you probably have some things in place where there's like copy and pasted messages
Hmm.
or, things
Hmm.
that are a little bit more, like you said, in the framework of what you would do. And so I can imagine that would make things a little bit more stale as well, and easy to fall into treating
Correct.
every single person the same.
Yes. Yep. Yep. So, you know, there's not really like this like super deep dive thing to go into this. It's more so of just like, hey, a big part of this show is kind of looking at what's going on in our lives and our coaching practices and bringing it to the show, right? And that's just an observation. Is like I've noticed that, and over the last week, I've been really intentional with getting back to where I was before. You know,
Hmm.
um, getting back to the real me, which is this person who's like super, super invested, very gung ho, and it puts the relationship before the transaction every single time, right?
Yeah.
And I just
Hmm.
I just needed to recognize that. I needed a moment where I was like, ooh, I'm gonna check myself, and I'm gonna get back to doing that because that's the sweet spot for me, you know.
Yeah, I agree. And I know that that might mean, and it might not, but it might mean talking to 30 or 40 people a day versus 40 to 50 people a day,
Sure.
if you take that extra step. But in the end, if you are converting more because they feel that genuine uh, approach a little bit more from you, then in the end, if it seems like a numbers game, right? The more you talk to, the more you're going to convert. But if you slow down to speed up a little bit, that might actually give you more of the conversions versus, just a bunch of random numbers that you no longer get to talk to.
Mhm.
So I think that's another piece of it too. And I also would say that I could see this happening with current clients. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah.
And perhaps it's not
Hmm.
happening to you right now, but if you are kind of in a slump where it's like, yeah, you've got your clients, but maybe you've had similar clients for, a year now or 6 months, and
Sure.
you are just like, oh, them again. Like, I've been working with them for how long and I'm not seeing the needle move, or I am, but I've got all this other stuff going on. I could see where that sense of feeling stale could certainly bleed into other parts of our business as well. And our clients are going to feel that. They're going to sense it. And I'm
Yeah.
just curious, what do you think about that?
I think that that's absolutely true, and thankfully I haven't experienced that part of it on my end, and I hope that I don't. But
Hmm.
I can definitely see how that could happen. Um, yeah, and I don't even think it has to do with like working with someone for a long time either. I think that it can just become like. So I was talking to a couple of buddies actually. So m- one of the best things about my friend group is that we're all like really, really highly driven, motivated people. Most of my friends are business owners, and most of my friends are successful business owners. So we talk about business, we talk about all this kinds of stuff like all the time, right? And
It's great.
I was talking to two of my friends, recently. And, you know, every business that we have, we all got into it because we have a huge passion for it, because we love it. We feel like we're called for it. But that doesn't change the fact that, like, after a while, that can kind of fade a little bit.
Mhm,
And you kind of get yourself in that mode of like, okay, this isn't something I get to do anymore.
mhm.
It turns into, I have to do this now. Right.
Yep.
Um, so even on a more broader scale, like it doesn't have to be that you've been working with a person for a year or for 2 years. You could be working with someone for 2 weeks
Mhm.
and you could still show up in that kind of stale kind of place. So you have to constantly check yourself with this. You have to constantly figure out ways to reignite and keep that fire stoked over an extended period of time. Obviously, you're going to have your ups and downs, right? But what's important is that when you have those downs, that you recognize it and you make the proper adjustment.
Yeah. So we opened up by you saying that you sort of noticed this on your own. And then just a couple of seconds ago, you mentioned that you've got this great friend group. Um, I'm going to ask it this way. Did you truly just notice it on your own, or did you come to this recognition after having some sort of conversation with your friend group?
No, I noticed it on my own. That
Okay.
conversation that I had that I brought up, that was over the fall. So it's been, about 6 months since we
Okay.
we had that
Okay.
conversation. Um, it was something that they were going through, and then I just now, like in this moment, was like, "Oh, that's what so and so is going through."
Okay. Actually, I'm really glad that you said that. So the reason I was asking is because I think sometimes it's difficult to see these things in ourselves or in
Hmm.
our own businesses. But the fact that you had this friend group that somebody expressed this to you earlier probably made it a lot easier for you to recognize it in your own
Hmm.
life,
Hmm.
because it was almost like a definition around it already, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that's really why I was asking the question, because I think sometimes we think, especially in financial coaching, that we don't need other people, and it can become very
Mm,
lonely. Um,
yeah.
and not just lonely, but it can become unproductive because we're not getting that feedback. And even if it's not somebody looking at you saying, here's what I'm seeing, because that's not what happened to you, you were able to hear somebody else's story, and it kind of gave you, a grammar definition around what was actually happening. And so that you could easily identify it when it was happening to you.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage all of our listeners, and we do have our community, and that there's a reason we have that community. Just so you guys all know, it's not to build business. It's actually because we know that being on an island kind of sucks. It's like we want you to feel like you can hear what other people are doing. And that's partly why we do this podcast too, and bring to you what's going on in our own lives. It's not because we're able to sit and actually, observe what's happening in your business and give you feedback on that. But if you can hear what's going on for us, it gives you that grammar, that definition of, well, what does that look like? And then you can go, oh, I see what's happening here. I almost sounded like like the guy from Moana. It almost came out in a sing-songy way. I see what's happening here. Okay, but you can kind of see that to yourself and go, I get it. I see what they're talking about, and now I can recognize that in my own situation, and then seek help, seek counsel, or just shift your own behavior in a way to take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And, I think it was a seed that was planted, probably in like a subconscious level, right? To where I was
Yeah.
like, we had that conversation and I was like, dang, that sucks that they're going through that. I can
Mhm.
understand it, but it sucks. Um, I'll make note of that,
Yeah.
and then 6 months later, when something similar happened to me, I was like, oh, that's right. you
That
know,
get it.
and then you can adjust it, but
Yeah, and if you didn't feel confident enough to adjust it yourself, Now you have an anchor of where you heard that. So you can go back and go, hey, buddy, what did you do 6 months ago to kind of bring yourself out of this? I'm kind of there myself and I need a little bit of help.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's great about us having this conversation now is that there's someone listening who is a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed new coach, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, that'll never, ever be me," right? Uh, take note, take note,
Hmm.
because I was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for a long time, for a long time. And this isn't me saying like, "Oh, I'm burnt out." This isn't me saying like, "Oh, I don't
No.
enjoy this anymore." This is a
Yeah.
natural part of owning a business. Like,
Right.
every single business owner, I guarantee you, every single business owner at some point has the thought cross their brain, and it sounds like this. You know, having a 9 to 5 wouldn't be that bad.
Uh-huh.
Every single business owner at some point has had that thought. And I have
Uh-huh.
had that thought. And then it's usually followed with, wait a second, I had a 9 to 5. And I didn't like that either.
Mhm.
In fact, I
Mhm.
actually really didn't like that. And I really enjoy this much more, even though there's
Right.
more challenges, even though there's more work that comes with it, there's more creativity that's required from it. I still enjoy this, right? And sometimes even just having that thought of like, well, what would it be like if this wasn't my situation? Sometimes even just having that thought is enough for you to be like, "Oh, yeah, that's right. I already did that. That
Mhm.
sucked. I'm actually
Yep.
really happy with this now." And that can reignite the fire alone sometimes, you know?
Yep.
So,
Yep.
just know that it will happen. We talk about, these different stages of change quite a bit on this
Mhm.
on this, um on this podcast, and not to say that I had a relapse per se, uh, but I think that there's different stages that kinda come with this, you know?
Yeah. I agree
So,
with that. It really drives home the choose your hard.
yeah, for sure,
Mhm.
for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I don't know where I really wanted to go with this conversation. I just thought that it'd be a good one to have. I think that it turned into something that is pretty valuable in my opinion, and something I think that a lot of people deal with as well.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
parting message: if you're listening to this today, and there's any part of your practice that you feel is getting a little bit stale, whether it be reaching out to leads, whether it be working with clients in general, whether it be, just the grind of running the business as a whole, right? Just check yourself. Check yourself. Remember why you got started. Remember why you're doing it in the first place, and reignite that fire to keep things going again. You'll be happy that you did. I'm already happier. I've made the shift over the last couple of days even, and I'm like, let's go. So it's a good thing. So you can do the same for yourselves as well.
Yeah. And if you haven't yet joined our community, we encourage you to do just that. You can
Hmm.
find us at the Financial Coaches Community by New Money Habits on Facebook. It's free to join. We encourage you to answer those couple of questions and then jump right in and just kind of see what other coaches are going through. Feel free to ask a question if you have one, but you're not required to do that right away. You can just peruse what other people are doing and then know like, okay, now I have an understanding of what some of that is. And when I go through that, not if, but when I go through that, I will be a little bit more ready to recognize that and take action.
Yeah, absolutely. Alrighty,
Okay.
guys. Well, thanks for listening to another episode of the Financial Coaches Podcast. We hope to catch you on next week's episode as well. So we'll catch you then.
Thank you for listening to the Financial Coaches Podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Sizemore Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our hosts by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes and join our growing group of like-minded coaches on Facebook. And until next time, happy coaching.